Alright guys, so in this video we will take a look at pivot points. What is a pivot high, what is a pivot low, and how can we use pivot points in our trading strategy. So yeah guys, I really hope that sounds interesting, and real quick before we start here, I just have to give a disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice. But alright guys, now let's jump right into it. And let's actually start this video off by taking a look at some theory here. So what is a pivot point? Well, pivot points are basically points on the chart that can act as major turning points in the market. And there are two types of pivot points. First of all, we have the pivot high. Well, a pivot high is, in simple term, basically a bar that has a higher high than the bar that comes before it and the bar that comes after it. So it could look something like this. We might have a candle here, green candle that looks like this. And prior to the candle, we had another green candlestick right here. And after this one, we then saw a red movement here to the downside. And the important point about this is that the high of the middle candle, so you can see the high right here, is a higher high than the candle, than the previous candle, and it also has a higher high than the following candle. So this right here is an example of a pivot high. A pivot low, on the other hand, is the exact same thing, but the opposite. It is a low that is a lower low than the previous candle, and it also has a lower low than the candle that comes after. So this red candle right here might be our pivot low, something like this. Prior to this one, we might have had a strong red candle, like something like this, and we might have had a green candle right here after the red one. And the important point here is once again that the lowest point of the middle candle has a lower low than all the previous candles. So this is basically the basics of pivot highs and pivot lows. And when we are only talking about that we have one candle prior to the actual pivot candle, so in the case of a pivot high, we have on the left side, we have one candle with a lower high, and on the right side, we have only one candle with a lower high, then we usually call this the first order pivot. But we can also extend this concept to, for example, say that we need 5 candles with lower highs to the left and 5 candles with lower highs to the right. And if we do this, then we will get fewer and more significant pivot points, but at the same time, it will take longer for these points to actually appear on the charts. Alright, so now let's jump into the chart and take a look at a real life example as well as a pivot point indicator that we have here on TradingView. So right here, we are looking at Bitcoin on a daily time frame, and all of these white sort of bars you can see right here on the chart are pivot points. If you're looking at this chart, you can see that it looks like these points are often the very low. So if you bought these points, for example here, you would have made a lot of profit. If you bought here, you would have made a lot of profit, and so on and so on. So this is a very clean example of pivot points. But the reason that these pivot points looks so good is that these ones actually need 10 candles on the left and 10 candles on the right. So in the case of, for example, this high right here, in order for this to be a pivot high, according to the indicator we are using right now, it needs to have 10 candles with lower highs to the left and 10 candles with lower highs to the right. And this is why this chart looks so good right now. So let's actually show here real quick how to open the pivot indicator in TradingView. So to do that, you go up to indicators up here and you search, I think you can search pivot points, and then you have pivot points high-low updated. You click this one. And if we want to change so that our pivot points only need to have one candle on either side, like we talked about in the beginning, then we go up here to where it says pivots HL, pivots high-low. We click settings here. And here we can actually change the inputs. So as you can see right now, it says 10-10, and that means that we need 10 candles on either side of the actual pivot candle. So if we actually change this one to, for example, 1, 1, and this one to 1 and 1. Now this one will display all the points on the chart where the candle has, for a pivot high, a lower high to the left, lower high to the right, for a pivot low, a higher low to the left, and a higher low to the right. So as you can see here on the chart, now we are getting much more points here. And now you can also see that many of these points are not that significant. But now to the question, how do we actually use pivot points? Well, one way to use pivot points in your trading strategy is to look for major pivot points and then base your support and resistance levels on these points. So right now we're only requiring one on either side, and this is a bit too noisy in my opinion. So we'll go here to settings once again, and we can instead have 5 candles on either side. Then this will show the more sort of major points here. So now it looks like this, and you can actually use the pivot points here to find key support and resistance levels. So for example, as you can see right here, you can see that we have many pivot lows in this area. So this indicates that we are, that we multiple times have been seeing buyers coming in here, and this seems to be a key area. You can also see that we have 2 pivot points down here, so it's pretty safe to assume that we have some sort of support zone somewhere around here, right? So we want to include perhaps something like this. We include most pivot points, and this is a way to use it in your strategy. Use the pivot points to find key levels here. So since we have been having so many lows in this area, if the price goes below here, that would definitely be a bearish or negative sign here for Bitcoin. But alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you feel like you got any kind of help or value, then please consider dropping a like. And if you guys are interested in more, then don't hesitate to subscribe and hit that notification bell. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I hope I will catch you in the next video. But for now guys, take care. Ciao ciao.